All right. Good morning, everyone. I think it's time we start. It's another Saturday with Video Bites, and I hope. I mean, we're already. Oops, wait on. Sorry, what happened to my screen? Hi. I was saying we're already into our 10th session, and I'm pretty sure everyone is adjusted to this whole virtual set. Ninth session pala, and I'm pretty sure we've already fully adjusted to this whole virtual setup, and it's not that bad, right? We're attending virtual sessions at the comforts and safety of our homes. So we hope you've prepared yourself a whole day of productivity because aside from our morning's lecture talks, we'll be having one-on-one virtual sessions on salesmanship with one of our mentors. By the way, we've retained the original schedule of having 50 minutes of coaching per startup via Zoom. So please take note of your respective schedules, which you picked earlier this week, as shown on the screen. We'll use the same Zoom link for this afternoon. And since this is a one on one coaching session, please only enter the session during your schedule. Take note of the 10-minute intervals between the sessions, which is your window to enter and prepare for the session. We'll also have one Studio Bytes team member per session to check on the coaching. Ano lang, magla-lurk lang kami. We're not gonna intervene with it. And of course, for documentation purposes. So now that we've covered that, again, we're set to have a productive day as we tackle the interesting topic of salesmanship. Um, of course, we've invited another set of experts to talk to you about salesmanship since it's crucial to have these skills and methods to effectively sell and promote your products and your services. Because as a startup, not only are you pursuing innovation, you are also pursuing entrepreneurship. So you have to know how to commercially and efficiently sell your idea. Our morning session will run from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, with each speaker being allotted an hour to talk about his or her topic and address your questions later on. Please make sure your mic is turned off unless you are requested to talk to avoid disruptions and turn on your cameras during the virtual group photos. So please, guys, I'm encouraging you to be interactive. If the speakers ask you even how you're doing in the morning, please answer them. Okay, thank you. The first part of our fire session is a talk by Jason Montecañas, who is the campus in charge of Bukidnon State University, Kadingilan, Satellite Campus. He's recommended by DTI Misamis Oriental for his expertise in salesmanship. He will be tackling the trends of salesmanship, especially how it has evolved in this digital era as well as in a trying time where businesses are coping up with the pandemic. Aside from his talk this morning, he'll also be conducting one-on-one sessions with you, which we have already covered. He was a professor and a data privacy and alumni head of Capital University and has worked at the Department of Trade and Industry, Misamis Oriental, as a senior trade and industry development specialist. He has an impressive background of trainings on various fields, including marketing and innovation. He completed his bachelor's degree in science of commerce, major in management and entrepreneurship, and his master of business management both at Capital University. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first speaker for today's virtual fire session, Jason Montecañas. I will now be passing the virtual floor to him.
Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ma'am Shore. Okay, now,
Morning, sir.
good morning, everyone. Okay, actually, pinduol kay ko sa inyo karon. No? I'm currently at Katingilan, Bukidnon. Good thing, right before we started our session, the current is back because it's the schedule ran out. Started at 8 in the morning until 9 in the morning. So at least before we started, ibalik na gid ang kuryente. So once again, welcome. This is my first virtual session for CDO Bytes, but I had been a resource speaker with CDO Bytes when I was still in still working and connected with the Department of Trade and Industry. Okay, so for now, I will be sharing my screen. I'm sure I was only given 1 hour to present my topic this morning, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But if you have anything you want to share, you may continue on sa afternoon session.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
you have until 1 to 6 p.m. for that. Okay.
Okay. Okay, is now my screen is now virtually seen na by my PowerPoint presentation. Can I
Yes.
have a thumbs up from the participants? Since I can't see you, since all of you is actually had to turn off your cameras, just a thumb up. Okay na ba tayo? Can we now start? Wow, ang silent naman ng mga participants natin, ma'am. Sure. Okay, I think we are now getting ready to start our presentation. So again, I just capped the topic given to me. I was actually informed by Miss Jessie Abiar, Tutang Abiar of the Department of Trade and Industry, and I was asked if I could possibly share all about salesmanship. So just to cap it all about the topic that I will be sharing this morning, our the topic or the title that that I will be presenting is entitled "The New Rules of Selling." Okay, so old rules are actually, I'm not saying it's not applicable, but it's not that effective already. Okay, so this is a little um, hassle because it has a lot of slides, but this is just a very, 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 very minimal lang. So if you have questions, you can just chat so that I can address it properly, or you may raise your hands using the virtual raise your hand so that I will be able to know that you have questions for me. But before we start, can I just run through if everyone is here already? We are about, how many are we, Ma'am Sure? About 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 12. Okay. So to start with, I am Jason Bacal Somoticanias. The marketing, the branding that I have is all my presentation has this JBM. If you could see, that's basically part of marketing. That's part of branding. So if you will be given a chance to present also all your topics in the future, it's good to have a mark that would um, that would tell that it's your PowerPoint presentation. Okay, to start again. Okay, let's start. If you run a small company, guys, then you are in sales. Even if you're a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant in that matter, you are in sales. Remember that always. So, entrepreneurs are in sales too. Now, in the past, para bang there are a confusion between a marketing and a sales. Our market our market department and sales department one is in one, or can the marketing department can do the job of a sales department? So later atong tan-awon if parehas lang ba na sila. But entrepreneurs are in sales too. Okay? Everybody who lives by their wits, by going independent or starting something new or running an established organization is in sales. So why is it we're talking about sales? Unsa din ka-importante ang sales, no? Everyone is selling. We might not know that, but everyone is in selling. Every day, even if we commute, we go to market, even to our family, no, even to our children, we are doing selling. Now, but remember how people buy has changed. Even our means of buying things right now has drastically changed because of this pandemic. Even without this pandemic, years back, people's attitude towards buying is changing already, drastically changing. And that is the thing that what we will be talking this morning. For example, if you want to buy a car, okay, wow, social naman, no? How do you buy a car? Maybe in the previous years, you need to go to a the dealer's shop, for example, the Toyota, the Mitsubishi. You need to go there and see the car for yourself. That was in the past. But right now, no? But right now, do you really do that? Or before going to the Mitsubishi um, shop or even to Toyota, for example, you need to what? Okay, you need to spend hours on the web learning as much as you can about the car that you want, and only visit the dealer when you are ready to buy, because you already know everything you need to get, no, about the car you want. So that's basically what we do. We use our best friend. We use Google as our best friend and type and search about, for example, if you want to buy a compact SUV, then you need to type it so that you'll be able to know all the information that you need. No, you will be typing, anyone own a compact SUV? What model? Do you like it? In other words, you're getting information through internet. You're getting more and more information before you decide what brand of SUV you would like to buy. Okay? We live in the era of buying process are controlled already by consumers, not sales situations stacked against us. In other words, the buyers today has a lot of full of information. No, in the past, maybe the salesperson controlled the situation because you are the only one who knows the information about your product. But today, parang hindi na yan pwede. Okay? The good news, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you understand these new realities I was talking about, you can make your business fantastically successful. So how will be able to be how would be making it sure that we will be successful in this? Now, remember, buyers are in charge of relationship with companies they choose to do business with. Okay? That's the new realities, ladies and gentlemen. For example, we research someone online before agreeing to a first date is a crypt. We will write up a linked an hour before initial business meeting, or does have anyone I know in her network or his network. Before even we watch movie, we type, is this really this movie ba worth watching for? Is in demand? What are we what are the trailer or what is the trailer of this movie? We even check reviews of a restaurant before dining in so that we'll be able to know that our the worth of money or the value of money we spend for eating foods is actually there. We are actually in a new world already, and we need new rules for selling. Um, as I've mentioned in my title for the presentation, there is new rules of selling already. The idea of mystery in sales process is over. Again, the idea of mystery in the sales process is over. The traditional sales model is broken already. Many sales people are so busy selling that they don't have time actually to be helpful. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. We are so fed up with unwanted phone calls interrupting us at the home or even at the work. We hate reading through hundreds of unsolicited emails. But if we had it more intrusive social messages. We're tired of poor services from companies that don't treat us with respect or that set us into a phone mail maze that wastes minutes of our time and never connects us with a living person, especially if we complain about our internet connections and everything else. No, we just keep on calling their hotlines. Unfortunately, never once we have talked to a really real person. Even if we talk to a real person, that doesn't also help our problems. So that becomes a poor service. There's a robocall on line one and it says it's urgent. Okay, so that's what is happening right now. Just because you have your customer's email address, does it mean you should email them with your sales message? Just because you have your client's phone number, it doesn't mean you should call them with your sales speech. Does it also mean that you're connected with LinkedIn? It doesn't mean you can add or you can distribute the lists. Also, just follow that you are friends in Twitter and in Facebook doesn't mean you can sell them something via direct message. Intrusive interruption-based sales technique frequently do much harm than good. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, many organizations are still operating as if it were 1986, and they continue to focus massive investment on interrupting people. Remarkably, nearly all companies are still operating in a world as if their salesperson are the king of the information kingdom. In the days before real-time online communications, it was very difficult for us buyers to find independent information about the product or services that we are interested. There was no easy way for an unhappy customer to voice disapproval of a company in public. Both buyers and existing customers couldn't communicate instantly with the companies they did business with. Customers had a little say in the products and services they wanted to buy. That was then, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, the old rules of sales and service applied. Sellers delivered only proprietary information, meaning sila lang yung nakabalo sa information bahin sa ilang produkto. Kung sa ilang gusto isulti sa mga clients and customers, yun lang yung mga information. That was then. The sales process was generic and the buyers needed to fit into a one size fits all culture. Buyers needed to ask the right questions. The seller had more knowledge and therefore had the upper hand in negotiation. Seller had a little incentives to tell the truth about their offering. Even the seller is in charge of the sales cycle, parsing out details of the seller's timetable. Remember that people hate to be sold too. But in the old days, they had no choice. But today, it's not effective anymore. Now, they do. The biggest communication revolution in human history means your marketplace has changed. Again, remember, guys, your marketplace has changed. That's why you need to get to be found. You need to be in what? In the World Wide Web. Get found. Meaning, when I would like to search your company, I will be able to see you through online. When I want to know the information of your organization, of your enterprise, it's easier for me even if I'm in Kadingilan, Bukidnon. When I want to buy something, there I could find you just with the tip of my finger and using internet connections. In this era also, we need to encourage sharing positive feedback about our products is very important. Smart companies, which I believe like yours, incubate, no? My participants right now understand that people have choices of whom to do business with. and they are transforming the way they sell to customers. And I believe that you belong to these smart companies that I am talking with. Remember, you are what you publish on the web. Later, I will be discussing what are the pros and cons when you do publish your company, even yourself, on the web. Okay, the biggest barrier to success with these new rules of selling is only one thing: fear. Fear that you might don't know how to start having or doing an online thing. Fear that it's not actually my language. Fear that I don't have the means, I don't have the resources to be able to use and maximize the social presence. Okay? So, because if you have fear, then it's very difficult for you actually to be in business. Because one of the criteria to become a successful business entrepreneur or to become an entrepreneur itself, to be successful, is what? Overcoming your fear. Okay, but since you are now here, I believe all of us are risk takers. But in business, we are not just risk takers. We are actually doing a calculated risk. Okay, so right now I will be presenting the new rules of selling. So these are all about a little over five rules that I will be discussing this morning. If you can read in your screen, the first rule that we have is the authentic storytelling that sets the tone actually. Second, content is the link between companies and customers. Third, big data enables a more scientific approach to sales. Four, agile selling brings new business to your company, meaning the fastest in terms of speed using the internet brings new business to your company. And the fifth one, real-time engagement keeps customer happy. So these are the five things that we will be talking this morning. Today, people like to buy because they have far more choices than in the past. I want to buy something, I need to open it through internet and search for it. Let's start with number one, authentic storytelling sets the tone. Ano bang ibig sabihin nito? What does it mean? People want authenticity, not spin. Meaning, when you are selling something, you need to be true to itself. You need to be authentic, genuine. People want participation, not propaganda. Your organizational story cannot be dreamed up by an agency. The individual at the top of the company is the master storyteller, the conductor of the organizational orchestra. With social network, every employee has a role in sales and must sing from the same hymnal. Buyers want information in language they understand, not in the gobbledygook laden jargon. In other words, when we present our product, our company to social media, it should be real. It should be authentic. Dili siya pwede nga daghan sugar-coated to the point that kung ako ang buyer, di na ako kasabot kung tinuod ba ni nga kumpanya, if the product ba is true. Okay, so any member of the organization, if you are 3 or 4 or 5 in your company, you need to be one in telling what information you want to share to your customers. Restoring the human touch, the compelling power of authenticity. You know what? People want to discuss with other people. That's normal, no? That's been true since the beginning of time. 100 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, our great grandparents knew the people who sold them hardware or shoes or chickens. There was a personal touch. If there was a good service at a fair price and maybe a kind words or a smile, you had a business relationship that lasted for many years. Number two, content is the link between companies and customers. You are what you publish. You might be seeing right now, sir, does it mean my personal social media account is connected with my company's social account? Later, I will be answering that question. Companies must drive people into the purchasing process with great content. For example, blogs, online video, just for an example, communicates directly with buyers in a form they appreciate. Meaning, as a as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you need to know your buyers. You need to know your target market. By using and maximizing the World Wide Web, you are now expanding your market. That's why I've mentioned in my previous slides that it has the marketplace has been changed already. Okay, social networks like Twitter or Facebook allow people all over the world to share content and connect with the companies they want to do business with. Smart sellers now not only deliver proprietary information, but also curate information from other sources of the World Wide Web. The sales cycle is now a buying cycle. It is very important also, guys, that you need to educate plus inform is the formula now of selling. Educate plus inform instead of interrupt in sales. Okay? Educate plus inform. Remember that always. Marketing generate attentions or attention to the many people who make up a buyer persona, whereas sales communicates with one potential customer at a time, putting the buying process into the context. Okay? Meaning, marketing is just more about promotional activities so that people will be able to know that you have this product. But in order for that potential buyers to buy your product, the salespeople is in charge, not the marketing people. In the e-marketplace of ideas, successful salespeople highlights their expertise by sharing videos, content-rich websites, for example, or Facebook page for that matter, social streams, blogs, and images rather than using the old sales playbook of hoarding information and letting it drip out. In other words, you need to inform and give all the information, necessary information about your product to your prospect clients. Do not hoard informations. Salespeople actually add context to the company's experts, products, and services. Through them, the marketer's content fulfill its potential to precise moment the buyers need it. Okay? Now, you've got to be on the buyer's timetable, not yours. The key is to focus on the buyer's need, not your own ego. Okay? Remember, the buyer's need and not your own ego. Although it sounds counterintuitive, but you sell more when you stop selling. Did you agree? Because sometimes salespeople, even us, sometimes to become pushy of our product, then when we become pushy, it becomes forceful. Now, when we become forceful, we tend to intimidate already our buyer. That's why they are saying that you sell more when you stop selling. Okay? Don't push your product. Teach people something. Share your expertise. When I speak to an entrepreneurs or a business owner, for example, and many of them push back on content creation, and they would always say that I am just a doctor and there's nothing interesting about my business I can write about or show a video with. Meaning, if I ask you, no, my participants right now, if you can create a video content just telling story about your product, showing the world what your product is all about, no? Are you willingly be able to do that in a correct context? Or baka sabihin nyo, I'm not really not so familiar with what is my company is all about. Even to answer the golden circle question, the why, who, and what, basin maglisod ta. Before kasi going to business, you need also to answer the question why I am in this business. If the answer is only all about profit, then I think there's something wrong about it already. Because when you start your business and all you want to do and to have is profit, then that is a wrong framework for a business to be successful. Because again, as I've mentioned, you need to help. You need to be an answer of your customers' problem. Because if you are the answer of their problem, if you are the answer of their preferences, of their need, then profit will follow. Okay? So later on, I'll be asking you in our one-on-one coaching session or mentoring this afternoon about actually the the reason why you are into this product so that you will be able also to help how you will be able to promote and sell your product. Okay? So, nonsense. There's always something interesting that offers opportunity for creative content if you keep your mind open. Okay, have your smartphone ready, interview a customer, for example. This is just an idea, no? If you have now number of customers, make a short film about something interesting and share it in your market. It is the it has never been easier to tell interesting stories to your market, especially to those satisfied customers. Because the next time you create a sales strategy, think about how you would approach if you were trying to date the buyer instead of selling it to them. Okay? Tremendous success comes with great online content, an educated and interested buyer. Met a skillful salesperson who understands the new realities of buying processes. Number three, big data enables a more scientific approach to sales. I hope you're writing the new rules of selling. The best organization customize the buying experience for each customers. Remember, because of the infinite amount of information available on the web, buyers now have more information than sellers. And therefore, buyers have the upper hand in negotiation. With a lot and huge of independent information available to buyers, sellers must tell the truth about their offerings. Online communications are infinitely measurable, again, because of a lot of information around the place. When buyers express interest, they expect contact right away, as in now, not tomorrow, not this afternoon, but now. That's what the buyer is all right now. Okay, now. But you need also to remember and be sensitive with what we call sales signals. Using big data to predict your prospect is moving towards a decision to buy. So what is the sales signals? The alert, a sales signals instantly pulls up information on the buyer's company. Are they already a client? Have others from this company visited the site before? Not even the buyers in Twitter profiles appears. This actually, when a buyer clicks on a link of your site, it's a signs, it's a signal already. It's a sales signal. When a buyer is on your site right now, it is a real-time sales signal. When your buyer just changed your job title, no, and you become networks, that's a sales signal. If your buyer tweets using your company's keywords, it's a sales signal. In other words, you need to be attentive and making it sure that you are updated on those clients who have visited your sites, who have actually sent questions, sending messages through direct DM, for example, and you need to act right away. Huwag niyo sabihin at tomorrow na lang because I'm busy right now. You need to act in every questions or queries your potential clients is asking. Okay? In connection with that, this number 4 new rule is all about the agile selling. Bring new business to your company. Ano ba ibig sabihin nito? Buyers actively use search engine and social network to find companies to do business with. The buyer is now in charge of the sales process and wants to buy on his or her own personal timetable. That's why nga, di ba, for example, for Lazada and Shopee, if you want something and you don't have money yet, all of you is add to cart, add to cart. Now, if the sales are promo already, then buy the product. So parang ganun naman yan. The buyer will buy things at their own personal timetable. When a buyer is ready to buy, the company must respond with lightning speed. Instead of causing a one-way interruption, making sales is now a delivering content at the praise moment each buyer needs it. Company must treat people as individual, okay? When the buyer have valuable information with a click of a mouse, it is sellers who need to ask the right question. In other words, your product should be available when the customer or the buyer needs it. Now, the buyers interact with anyone who is active in social media. Remember that. They can see what companies are doing, who are engaged, who will talk to me, does anyone care? These are just a few questions that a buyer is asking. Okay? Because if you have page on social media, then when I ask questions, and it's been 1 week already, walang response, it's a negative impression already for your company. Organizations filled with people who take the time to understand the needs of the buyers they wish to reach. That is what I'm talking about earlier when I mentioned that who are your target markets? What's the reason why you are in the business? No, and then develop information to educate and inform those buyers are more successful than organizations that just make stuff up. Meaning it should have this personal touch really, knowing sincerely and genuinely what your buyer wants and needs and answer it. With buyers having access to too much more information, salespeople now enter the buying process later at the moment of enormous opportunity. The decisive advantage, ladies and gentlemen, is all about speed. Speed in answering queries, speed on our content creation so that our prospect buyers will be able to know what and who we are, speed in after sales service. Because there are companies, ladies and gentlemen, that when they have done with the buying process already, when the buyer paid for the product, the relationship ended there. But it doesn't actually end there. The relationship has just started. When the buyer purchased already, has an actual purchase of your product, then the relationship is eventually started. No, it doesn't end it there. It just started. Agile requires a real-time mindset, meaning the real-time mindset recognizes the importance of speed. It is an attitude to business and to life that emphasize moving quickly when the time is right. Your salespeople or you yourself should assume that they are the last place a buyer goes, not the first. They must assume the very little of their knowledge is proprietary. They need to facilitate the sale, not control the information. And lastly, our last rule is real-time engagement. Keeps customers happy. In our in our always on world, buyers expect instant 24/7 service. Since you will be using a social media or the World Wide Web, now your market becomes global. Because of the independent product reviews, there is now a huge incentive to fix problems and make customers happy so they don't complain publicly. Because this is also the downfall of the social media. If your clients or if your buyers are not contented and they have complaints about your company or your product, now they post it in social media. The social media is a powerful tool to make or break your company. But more importantly, we need to make it, we need to use it to make our company successful. Okay? Customer expect employees of the companies they do business with to support them via social network. The internet, ladies and gentlemen, has fundamentally changed the face of business, compressing time and rewarding speed. In the past, companies only draw the experiences in the distance past. Other companies only plan business far into the future. But I am talking or what I will be sharing it now is that you need to plan for now, react to now. Okay? Again, you need to be presently available now. So that again, plan for now, react for now. Speed plus agility are decisive competitive advantage, as I mentioned a while back. Social media are tools. Real time is a mindset. The secret to building a following of social networks is there is no secret. You just need to participate. Okay? Again, you need to participate. Even now, nearly 20 years into the evolution, many organizations still aren't communicating in real time on the web. Their sales organization remains stuck in the past. That's why many companies has these difficulties on transitioning from the normal to the new normal. Because again, right now, the new normal thing is everyone or every company should be online. The social is you. Remember that. That's why my question a while back I said Is your personal account in social media and your company account in social media is the same? Again, the answer is the social is you. Once you start to develop your personal brand on social media, you're taking the first step towards building an asset that can help you for the rest of your life. Really, it will help you guys. Why social networking is like exercise. I hate exercise. But again, when we do social networking, para lang daw siyang exercise. Why? Finding the time to participate in social media is much like an exercise. You need to make an important part of your life. If it's important to you, you don't even think about it anymore. It just is. Okay? You have a choice. You can choose to exercise regularly in order to stay fit or not. And you can choose to participate in social networks or not. Okay? I recommend that you don't even try to find time to create content and participate in social media because you will fail. Just like finding the time to exercise leads to failure and wasted money on the health club memberships. That's me. Instead, make exercise and social media important parts of your life, meaning it should come naturally. It will become your culture and your new norms. If you still cannot fit exercise and social media into your life, cut out television completely, and you will be amazed at how much time you will free up. You are already online. I am sure all of the participants right now has a social media platform already. Go to your favorite search engine, for example, Google, and enter your name or maybe your former employer if you are employed previously and try to Google your name. If you're a student, Google your name in the school. And this is what people do to learn more about you. Meaning if they see your company names already and they start searching it through online. If wala kayo doon, na parang pangit siya. Okay? Whatever comes up is your personal brand. If you're publishing great content online, then congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, because you've got a great personal brand. But if you're publishing nothing, then you're leaving your personal brand to others who create content about you. And if you're publishing loosey information on the web, then you're creating a loosey personal brand. No matter what business you're in, okay, again, no matter what business you're in or what job functions you have, you take control of your personal brand by jumping into social networking. Your Twitter bio, your Facebook profile, your blogs about your page, and the other places you interact are great opportunities to say who you are. This is an essential element of personal branding. Don't ignore the opportunity to tell the world about yourself, about your product, about your company. How to stand out in a social network? First, as a way to introduce this important concept, let's turn our attention because I doubt you're using Twitter, Facebook, just your Facebook profile, for example. While each social network is different, the concept of personal branding are similar and can be carried out from one network to the other. Most profiles don't say enough, and most have loosely design. Well, that's fine if you're just communicating with friends. Now, if you're using your Twitter or Facebook for your business, then you need to pay attention. You need to pay more attention actually. For example, your photo. Diba? Yung lahat ng photo mo sa social media account mo are wacky photos. Oh, is it ba okay to have a wacky photos, especially if you are now having your business? Is it a good personal brand? Or others are using their pets, no? Pets pictures, their dogs as their profile photo, their cats as their profile photo. So again, let's ask our question if it's a good personal branding. Some people again use cartoon avatar to represent themselves. Well, that's okay for some. I don't think it communicates the person's doesn't like his or her real self for some reason. I definitely urge you to avoid using stand-ins for your photo. I don't think you should use your company logo instead of your photo on your personal social network either. I also suggest that you avoid the random images that many people seems a favor. You know, things like their cats, snowboard. If you use these sorts of images rather than your photo, you're limiting what you want people to think of you. Okay? So I think it's right time to change our social media accounts already. There are many choices when it comes to a photo to use. You can use a casual shot taken by a friend. This is a great option for many people. But there are many different approaches and each says something important about you. Are you in a casual setting, such as in a restaurant or someplace more formal, like an office, for example? What you are wearing, is it an image of you taking a vacation with a beer in your hands? Or a formal head and shoulder portrait in business attire taken by a professional photographer? Smile or no smile? How close do you crop? Well, there is no absolute right or wrong about photos in social media. But do keep in mind that each of these choices says a great deal about you. Okay? There's no better calling card than a virtual one. The social is the company. Okay? It also represents your company. We're buying, we're buying. So stop selling. Again, this is just a recap of what I'm saying in the previous slides that in the new era, in the new business, you stop selling. You just need to educate and inform your buyers or potential buyers about your product. Again, remember the word educate and inform. The high pressure of sales zone is over, guys. That's the end. It's not used. It will never be effective right now if you are forcing your product not to be bought by the buyers. It will never be effective anymore. So for you all here, my participants, we need to stop making excuses. Excuses like I mentioned a while back, I don't have internet connections, I don't have the resources, because that is, whether we like it or not, since we are now in the business, we need also to elevate and be afar from what is really happening in the real world, in the real scenario of business world. Okay? Manage your fear of something new. Start vlogging, start blogging, okay? So start videoing yourself about a good content. Start writing a good content also about your product or about your company. Okay? Guys, now it's your turn. Now it's your turn to maximize the use of social media. Again, this is the new normal. We can't get away with it. What we need to do is embrace the new normal. When I say a new normal, meaning embrace the World Wide Web, maximize it, use it correctly, because it becomes your brand. So for now, if you have your personal brand and you know that the pictures you're posting there, the images you posted there are not really a good representation of you and your company, I think it's time for you to evaluate and assess all what you have in your social media so that you can be able to use that platform for selling your product. Okay? But what's good is you need to start making a good content, no good information, good details about your product so that the customers or the buyers will be able to know about your company, you yourselves. Okay, so I think that will be all for this morning session. I'll be expecting questions, not now, but later in our one-on-one coaching. I'll be uh, happy to answer all your queries in terms of marketing, in terms of management, organization, in terms of salesmanship. Anything that you might think, I'll try my very best to give a advice and coach you on how you'll be able to make sure that you will be successful in these endeavors of yours. Okay, once again, I'm Jason B. Monticanias, and that will be my presentation this morning. That will be all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Jason. We'll see you this afternoon. Pero before we end your talk, let's all turn on our cameras for the virtual group photo for the documentation. All right. Okay. All right. Stop my screen muna. Stop share. All right. Here we go. All right. Smile, everyone. One. Okay. Okay, I'm waiting for everyone. One, two, three. All right, good job. Okay, thank you, Sir Jason. We'll see you again this
See you.
afternoon. And now, yes, sir. Okay, thank you so much for the talk. All right, so we'll head on to our next speaker for this morning. All right. The next part of our virtual session is a lecture talk by Heidi Grace Mendoza. She is Director of Capital University's Business Development and Management Program and the manager of the said university's Business Incubation and Support Center. Her professional experience, among several others, includes various roles with the Cagayan de Oro Chamber of Commerce and Industry Foundation, USAID local implementation of national competitiveness for economic growth, Create One Consulting, and the National Economic and Development Authority. She completed her bachelor's degree in accounting at Ateneo de Davao University and her master's degrees in business administration and business management, both at Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan. Ma'am Heidi has collaborated with CDO Bytes before to bring startup awareness to students in Capital University. So, with her extensive background in the field of commerce, she is fully equipped to talk about the fundamentals of salesmanship to you. So, since we talked about trends kanina lang, now we delve into the fundamentals. Okay, without further ado, I'll be handing the mic now to our second guest speaker, Miss Heidi Grace Mendoza.
Hello, good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Good morning,
Hi,
ma'am.
good morning, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you.
So, I will be now sharing my screen. Hello once again, and I would like to check if everybody's getting the slide on your screens.
Yes, we can, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I will be the second in three um, a series of three not really speakers but or experts, but we are here first and foremost to be able to share with you not only what we know, but also partially what we have experienced along the way. And most of all, since we're coming in from the point of view of educators, so our, most especially my sharing, will be anchored on theories. But of course, these theories will never be created unless they are based on experiences as well. So, what we're going to discuss for my part is fundamentals of salesmanship. I know it sounds like a course in a business degree. So what we're going to do is maybe take a little crash course for like almost an hour, but I will try to be as quick and as brief as I can. Let me start by congratulating the startups who are here in this Firestarter webinar. And you know what, guys, you are doing something that, of course, others can't do, right? And your spirit of entrepreneurship, your spirit of getting there, of creating something from nothing is already something to congratulate you and something that you should be proud about. Okay? From the list that I asked from the CDO Bytes, the startups that we're talking to today, especially this morning, and of course, as my guide when I prepared my material, are the following. So, congratulations to the following because among us here is a startup on laundry pickup and delivery services. Fantastic, right? And then another, something which we might want to be interested to learn more about later, is a multiple device connector. And the third, something that any online store would be needing is an online store relationship management system. The fourth startup is quite um, helpful or useful these days because we're looking at healthcare connection services. Then another startup which I think really saw the opportunity amidst this pandemic is a coin operated hand sanitizer dispenser machine. The sixth startup is something that might interest my husband because we have a very beloved German Shepherd. It is a pet identification system. And then finally, looking at our universities and teachers, we have an educator's toolkit mobile application. You know, guys, you may have observed what I just did. I did not look at your branding, but I rather just tried to describe what you're going to do based on the very short descriptions that were shared to me. So by looking at the lines or the words or the short description that I make, you can now see if what you are planning to create and to offer the public is clear to them. Because if I made a mistake, and please forgive me, then it means that I really still, if I made a mistake in describing you as a startup, then it means that there are still things that you need to clear up with your potential client, and therefore you need to be able to tell them what you are, who you are, and what is it that you have that will be of use to them, right? Because this is the point of this whole this startup session that we're having now. We're not looking anymore at your technical skills because for certain that you have them, but we are now trying to see if you can be able to tell us or your potential clients about who you are and what your products are. Because there's someone out there who needs to hear your story from you. Okay? So if we can look at our teams in our startups, maybe we can say that, okay, he is the expert for really in coding everything. Okay, she is the expert in the financing, and I'm the expert to talk to everyone. I'll do marketing. Okay. So maybe you're quite there's quite a number of you in your team, but sometimes our teams when we start are just very small in number. Okay, we're very lean, and of course we can admit that most often we are everything and we are everyone, right? We have to balance everything, and we're trying to become Superman. Okay, that we do not only do the engineering part and the production part, but we also do the marketing and selling part. So, therefore, that's the very purpose why we are going to discuss today fundamentals of salesmanship. Salesmanship is what? Okay, so I will not pretend that I will be defining salesmanship. So let's get and call the experts on what really is salesmanship. According to Stroh, salesmanship is one of the skills used in personal selling. The magic word in that sentence is personal selling. Of course, we do not discount that it is a pandemic these days, but still, when we sell our idea, remember, guys, everything starts with the idea, and our startup, especially to a buyer, is nothing but an idea. So, personal selling makes us and allows us to make that idea something that is tangible to our potential client. To illustrate, salesmanship is a direct, face to face, seller to buyer influence, which can communicate the facts necessary for marketing a buying decision. So if you can see there, of course, face to face now doesn't always mean that we are really physically face to face, because we can already use technology to come face to face and directly be together as a seller to our potential buyers. And lastly, the last part of the definition by Stroh is that salesmanship can utilize the psychology of persuasion to encourage the formation of a buying decision. So ultimately, the magic word for salesmanship is buying decision. Okay? Salesmanship is the tool so that we can persuade and we can make others buy our idea and buy our product. In a dictionary, salesmanship is also defined as the level of skill that you have in convincing people to buy or in persuading people to do something. So, salesmanship is a skill, and like your software development skill, salesmanship is not something that you are born with. Salesmanship is something that you also develop. So, therefore, take heart if you think that you are not so good in salesmanship. Maybe you can just up the notch a little by reading, by watching videos on YouTube and bed talk. And of course, nothing is replacing the learning that we get from the real experience. So we'll talk about experience later on. And finally, salesmanship is also defined by Goes as a seller initiated effort that provides prospective buyers with information and motivates or persuades them to make favorable buying decisions concerning your product or service. The magic words or the operative phrase that I would like to pick here is seller initiated effort. Okay? So if we are the developer, if we are the idea owner, if we are the startup, we are actually now business people, right? And as business people, we have to sell our idea and our product. And salesmanship initiates or starts from us. So we no longer have just to sit down and wait. We really have to do something that will, something positive, an action that starts from us. So in this slide, things that we would like to remember are personal selling, level of skill, seller initiated effort, which three will lead to a favorable buying decision. The major part, the major part of my sharing this morning is divided into two. And the first one is about the stages of the selling process. There are six, and we will go through them one by one. And I hope that as I would say something about them, you will try to picture yourself doing these things. If you are still a newbie or somebody new in the business, because I know that the startups we have are along information technology. So let us now mix your technical skills with your marketing and selling skills. So the first stage of the selling process is prospecting for customers. We know what our product is, so we must know who should it be for. Okay? Who is our product for? Who will our product serve? Prospecting for customers is critical. You know why? Because sometimes this is the part of selling that we don't like the most. When we are a beginner, it is sometimes a problem on just knowing where to start. Because they say that if you start with one customer, then the going after that will be a little easier because we have what we know the word of mouth. Okay. And of course, what is most important is the first, right? Because the first customer will teach us all the lessons we need to learn. But when we prospect for our customers, there are information sources that we can use. If we want to identify our customers, we make sure that they are relevant, right? Make sure that they are the type of customers who will need our product. And of course, if we really use the term market in the marketing sense, the market for our product is not only the market that would need our product, but there are also the customers who are capable of buying our product, right? It's just like us when we would look at catalogs and there's something that we would like, we are not a customer if we just like it. We are only a customer if we like it and we can afford it. Okay? And that's the truth. So here are some of the sources for information where we can find our relevant prospects. Number one, industry directories of associations. Okay? So perhaps we can get the help of the DTI. We can have the help of the Chamber of Commerce, okay, and of course USTP and the CDO Bytes can also help us. And then of course some of us may laugh at it now, but telephone directories are still here, right? And some let me see. Of course, we may not admit it, but other sellers in the same industry, okay, your other co-startups can even help you also in your prospecting for customers. And as I've said, when once we already found our first customers, that customer can also give us a source for potential other customers. Then we can also ask, of course, last but not the least, our social and professional contacts. And in that social contact, of course, will fall in that category will fall our family and relatives, and of course, our friends, right? So that is what is prospecting for customers is all about. You must have created by now a directory of who your potential customers would be. And in that directory or list, you should not only have the name of the company, but also the name of the right person to contact. And not only the name, but the correct spelling of the name of that person. Okay, and especially their position. The second step or stage in the selling process is opening the relationship. When we open the relationship from our choice among the list of our potential customer, we need to do two things. Number one is we have to determine if we are selling to an organization. Because if we look at our startups, it's impossible that you can just, not really impossible, it is improbable that you are just going to sell it to a housewife or an individual that would be making decisions for themselves only, right? Because our products would better benefit if it is a business to business purchase. So when we open the relationship, two things. The first is we determine who has the greatest influence or authority to make the decision of making the purchase. Let us not waste our time by talking to the wrong people, right? So we have to make sure that we talk to the persons who are really going to make the decision. And the second thing that we need to do when we open the relationship is that we have to generate enough interest so that they will ask for information. And that is where your marketing paraphernalia or materials, and of course, your online presence, and all the other things, materials, proposals, even your company t-shirts, your brochures, your your business cards, it should be enough to stir interest in our potential client so that we will know that they are really worthwhile, so that when we prospect, the second step of prospecting now, as we open our relationship to them, is for us to determine if they are the right client for our product. The third step is when we qualify the prospect. Okay, once we get to know them, once we get to be introduced to them, we start to um, try to understand if they are really worthwhile for the worthwhile customer for our product. And this is when we would start to set an appointment for our presentation. Our products are actually services, okay? And they are not the usual products which we can just buy and it comes in a box. So therefore, a major sales presentation is very, very important for our products. So when we qualify our prospect as we meet them, we would like to ask ourselves, do they really have a need for our product or services? Because if they need it, then it is already halfway selling them the product. You really don't have to push them anymore. Secondly, can we make them responsible for buying so that we can make a sale? Okay? Let's remember the positive buying decision is for us to make a sale. And finally, sometimes we forget this, we should also remind ourselves, will the sale be profitable to us? Sometimes as startups, we have the tendency to go as low as we can in our pricing so as just to make our first sale, right? But we shouldn't be that kind of seller where we are going to undersell our product. Of course, as startup, we know all the expenses, all the hard work that went into the product. So make sure that we do not lose when we are able to sell. And of course, we can those three things or those guide questions are what we think about when we are already qualifying the prospect. And finally, after all these three preparations, we get to meet our potential client. And that's when we present our sales message. And this is what we call our sales pitch or our product demo. And guys, this is the core of the selling process. So make sure we practice, right? Ensure that our laptops have enough batteries. And if we need the internet connection, we have a very stable one. If we need the effects, then we make sure that we have a very good sound system. And if you're going to talk about part A and your partner talks about part B, then you make sure that your partner is also around. So this is now your sales pitch and the future relationship with your potential client rests on the presentation. But then again, there are things that we must avoid when we make the sales message or our sales pitch. Okay, number one is let us avoid being too aggressive, right? Sometimes because we are so desperate, we sound desperate too. Okay, there's one thing we have to show because our startups are unique. Okay, as I've said, we're not just selling a piece of cake, literally. We are selling something that are products of our intellect, of our skills. So therefore, we must really come across available. So as we prepare and review our product, we must also study them so that we may know who they are. Presentation, as I've said a little earlier, I'm sorry, but my internet connection is now unstable. Okay. Of course, we have to prepare for our presentation. And I know you are guided by CDO Bytes on how to prepare a PowerPoint slide or perhaps a video, a short video, and even like talking and standing up to make a presentation. And last thing that we should avoid when we make our sales pitch is not product, right? Sometimes we may forget that, and when we are already talking, we are saying, "Hey, can you call?" And then you ask for somebody else to finish the talk for you because there are some things that you don't know and somebody else knows. It's fine if it's part of the script, but you must not appear that you have inadequate knowledge of your own product. So hopefully, after the fourth stage, you reach the fifth stage. And the fifth stage is, of course, the whole point of all of these things. No? So we must close the sale. Of course, we can only close the sale if we are able to handle objections. We don't have a budget for that right now. Okay. And practice, you already have your ready answers on how to handle objections. Another thing that we need to watch out when we close the sale, this is now us as sellers making sure that our efforts are not wasted. And this is where we should ask that we will get the sale from our potential client. So sometimes we can ask them, when do you want it installed? Okay, already giving them the presupposition that the sale is already closed, right? And sometimes we can also, of course, it depends on your style. We can also say, so, sir, when do you think can we finalize the memorandum of agreement? Okay, no? So again, it is it is a question already foreseeing the closing of the sale. And sometimes we can even say, when would you like the the training for your staff to start? Okay, so we already were like 2 steps before, two steps in advance. We're already talking and offering to train their staff. No, and of course, sometimes we can also, of course, say, what payment scheme would be comfortable to you? Okay, so sometimes it's not just being able to making your buyer purchase, but also knowing which questions to ask. Okay, close the sale, but in the stages of the selling process, they say there's still a sixth stage, and that is servicing the account. Okay, because the job is not finished when the sale is made. Personally, our family corporation has hired a systems developer for our company. Okay. And when we hired them and we got their system, after the sale, it's like they completely forgot about us. When we would ask questions, we are passed around from one technician to another, and we never really felt comfortable and satisfied with the product. So I know that we are still selling and we are still working to close the sale, but just a reminder, please, let's not forget to service the account. So as we close the stages of the selling process, let us be reminded of the words of Larry Page, the co-founder of Google: always deliver more than expected. And we can only do that if we are well prepared. Our product is already doing and can only do what we are promising. Okay? So, as I've said earlier, there are two main points of my sharing. The first, the stages of the selling process, and the second is, of course, um, the presentation. But first, let us remember these truths. And I would like to acknowledge the source of the material. It is Joel Johnson. He says, and these are, I already summarized his article, and I just picked 6 points from his whole article. He said that people buy people first. than goods and services. So, guys, make sure to remember before they buy our service, our product, they buy us first. Okay? So, I think you know what I mean. So, make sure that you are also marketable. Okay? Not only looking good, looking clean, but of course, we are amiable. Okay? And we are not pushing them around. And sometimes also, since our products are, as I've said, special products because um, these are products of skills and knowledge. These let us avoid by trying to look down at these people who do not understand our jargon. Okay, sometimes there are people who in their innocence would say, "Unsa di ay na," because these are the terms that they never maybe heard in their type of lifestyle, no? And so we should remember to explain it to them and realize, no, and accept that not everyone knows our jargon. Another is the second truth from Joel Johnson is people will run from high pressure sales push tactics. So um, picking up from the clue that we must know who our potential clients are. And if we know who they are, then we know what their needs are. And if they really need our product, there is no need for us to be calling them 3 times a day, right? And pressuring them for the sale. The third bullet point is that people want to believe that they made the decision to buy, that they weren't, that ultimately it's not that they bought it because we taught them to buy this. It's just that we shared to them the benefits of the product, which will respond to their needs, and then it is them who decided to buy. Another reminder that we should remember is if we don't believe in what we do, then our potential clients will not believe it either. Okay? So we just make sure that we are the firm believers of our startup. Second to the last is if you need to be dishonest, then you're in the wrong business. So when you practice and you feel that you need to make a lie, then get to the bottom of it and solve it first so that you don't have to lie when you are doing your sales pitch. And to repeat, you must research and understand your customers. Okay. And from the word of Evan Williams, the co founder of Twitter, user experience is everything. So I know that all of the startups are very familiar with user experience. I know I could imagine the number of times that you tried out your products and your applications so that you can ensure that user experience will be pleasurable, no? and and the potential client will really appreciate what we're offering them. Okay, and his last words are get your whole company on board. So the second main item that I would like to share is that when we present ourselves as salespeople and we already understand the stages of the selling process, and we know that the most important part or stage of the selling process is the sales pitch, then therefore we can say that presentation is key. So there are only 4 things that Alexander Hyam is has shared so that we can prepare for our presentation. Number one, we can imagine the meeting. Okay, it's just like us, very giddy, right? We're so excited. We can even as when we were younger, if we have to do something extraordinary the next day, we couldn't sleep the night before, and we would be imagining it. So when we imagine our meeting, actually it's strategizing already. And related to imagining the meeting is to creating what ifs. A what if is paano kaya, right? We already are creating scenarios. So as we strategize by imagining the meeting and we see ourselves in the situation, then we can already prepare. So preparing for the meeting and when we create a what if, okay? So um, when we say what if, sometimes what the situation that we create are sometimes or most often the situation that could go wrong, right? um, it's not reasonable that we always imagine that after we talk everybody will be shouting and then they will say hallelujah, you are the answer to our problems. Okay, so when we create what ifs, we create scenarios where they will say, mm, the for example, their comment would be, our our application is like good for 20 and there are only 5. So sayang naman the 15, no? The capacity for the other 15, would they still pay for it? Okay. So let when we prepare for the meeting, we already create the scenarios and our responses. And also, um, of course, I did this yesterday. We role play as we practice. Okay, so we practice. We go through our presentation step by step, and what do I say as I push this? What do I say if I flip this? And I no, and also the steps of our product or our app. So it is not only what I'm saying is it's not only what we say that we have to watch out for, but also the things that we do not say. Okay, even maybe our non-verbal. Okay, like our our finger, our hands, where where do we pause, where do we become silent, and of course I would like also to mention here that silence and giving our potential client a time to talk, okay, is also a very good key, because when we make a presentation it is not only about us, but we also like maybe imagine it like a movie where there's a dialogue, right? Where we are not doing a monologue, but the other players in the room have also their lines to say. So you ask them for, encourage them to ask questions. And of course, when we role play, we can already see our bad habits, right? Well, it's just a lucky for me this morning because the family, the home camera is being used by my daughter right now because she has classes. So she has to use it rather than me. Okay, but don't worry. I really practiced yesterday for this morning's presentation. So anyway, as we role play, we can pass across our strengths with our partners in the startup. No, we can point to each other and also how to improve, because you will never know that there may be times that you will let down. So somebody has to step up and take your role if you are the main spokesperson for your startup. And finally, for your presentation, we have to manage our constraints. Okay, life isn't always perfect. So, like me, between having a good microphone and a working camera this morning. So I would rather have a very good working microphone. Okay. So when we manage our constraints, right? Um, Again, this is part of creating or considering the what ifs. Papano kapag. Okay. Ano ang gagawin kapag? Okay. And sometimes our constraints may be number one, the place. Okay. If we are in a very noisy area, or maybe we came to the venue at a wrong time, and the business or the organization is tackling a problem, and here we come trying to sell them our product. So maybe they'll be not very responsive as much as we would like them to be. And sometimes our constraints are, of course, time and schedule. So actually, in front of me is a clock right now, and it's already telling me it's 10:45. So as we manage our constraints, of course, we also need to look at our technology, and I've already mentioned this earlier, our presentation slides, and of course, okay, let us not push for a presentation if the product is not working. Okay, no matter how beautiful our our brochures are, no matter how prepared we are with our script, if the product is not working at that moment, then do not push for it. Okay. So anyway, those are only the four reminders that we need to think of when we prepare for our presentation. So here are more reminders. Okay, so I would just like to share that we start by working on common ground. Okay, we do not, when we talk to our potential clients, we do not come across as messiahs. Here we are to solve your problem, no? But rather, let's look for something where they share with us, like the need to solve a problem. Okay, um, even um, our shared concern for health, our shared need for better services. Okay, and then yes, I already mentioned this earlier. We need to also listen to what the others have to say. Third reminder: we should never argue. Okay, if there is something that the potential client is really pushing for, which and then they would never change their stance no matter how we explain it. Okay, then perhaps we can offer to give them more information about it. We can send them more materials. Okay, but then and there we can fight the urge to argue because of the type of our products. The reminder, hello, the reminder is to appeal to the intelligence first, then to emotion later, because what we are selling is not preskong isda. No? We are not just selling fresh fish, and we are not peddling it around the streets, but it is best for our type of products that we appeal to their intelligence first. Very important, of course, is to help customers use or test the product. Okay, we may sometimes we may be scared to leave them a sample or a model of the product, but you can always put a time, right? If it is online, then you can just arrange that they can use it for like 5 days, or it depends on you. Okay, so let's not be afraid for them to test it. We can also apply to their pride of ownership, right? It's just like saying that I own a Prada bag, right? And therefore, we have to say that what we are doing and what we are offering them are also signature applications. Of course, we can also appeal to them the fear of loss, right? So what would happen if their organization does not have this application or this software, and their competition has it. Okay, so they will now fear that they lost the opportunity to better sales and better services as well. And the second to the last reminder is not for our potential client, but for ourselves. Okay, we should encourage ourselves, right? We should not be um, scared or despondent at at the first experience, because yes, if we look at statistics, there's a big, okay, I'm now sad to say that there's you can read this also of course around it. There is also a big opportunity, or a big chance, sorry, not opportunity, there's also a big chance that startups won't work. But if the product is good and you have clients who believe in the product, no, then of course you must also encourage yourself that you can make it, your product can make it, and your company can make the sale. And last but not the least, because this is the very point of salesmanship, the very point where we are looking at the fundamentals of salesmanship, is that we should not forget to ask for the order. The sale is the positive buying decision. And ultimately, everything leads to this. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to end by sharing with you the uh, the reminder from the co-founder of a restaurant reservation software company. Okay, so you may be thinking now, yeah, let's make a restaurant reservation software. Okay, Gary Vaynerchuk said, give value, give value, give value. And finally, that's the time that you ask for business. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to share. And it is a pleasure to be here. And it is a pride for me to be talking to you as a startup. I salute you and I congratulate you for your ideas and for putting your ideas into softwares and application. And while we're in the business, or while talking about business, and most especially technology based business, can I also make my sales pitch? But I'll make it very, very quick. I would also like to share that we are coming up, my family and I, with an online store, and we're calling it Marion. It's coming soon, and our major products are fashion, home, and beauty. Okay, so I wouldn't miss the opportunity to also pitch this with you. So thank you very much, and once again, it's a pleasure to be here. Good morning.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Miss Heidi. Long time no see. So, since we still have 10 minutes before we head into our last session, last part of our morning session, let's have a Q&A portion with Miss Heidi. So, startups, any questions you want to ask Ma'am Heidi regarding fundamentals of salesmanship, please feel free to unmute yourselves or just leave it on the chat box so we can read it for her. So, 10 minutes.
Hi, ma'am. I have a question. Hello. Hi. Madunggat ko,
Hi,
ma'am.
Jenny.
Hi. Hi.
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, ma'am. So, ang akong question is about, you mentioned about kanang don't push if the product is not working. So, as part of the team nga ga-create og product, I want nga mabalaan na sa users ang product even if wala pa gyud siya completely go work. So, unsa man imong mahatag nga tips ana ma'am for me to be able to um like make people buy the idea even if wala pa jud ang actual product.
Okay, thank you for the question, Jenny. I think because the product is so big, maybe that's why the product is not yet ready, right? Because I know that the product has a series. It's a series of smaller projects within the whole product. And that's understandable. So first things first, do not promise yet for a product demo. Okay? You can just start first with simple conversation about the product, and that's where your paraphernalia, your marketing materials will come in. You can have the description, and perhaps in your description, you can have a how to use the product. So, because if you also stop meeting with them, it will kill their enthusiasm. So that's where when your initial meeting happens and the product is not yet fully ready to be presented, do not rush to present, okay? But use your other marketing materials. And I think since I'm assuming that there are smaller projects or smaller components within the big project which are already ready, why not make tidbits of videos for that um, for that part only, like how
Mm-hmm.
to log in, right? So that will already show them a little portion. It's like when we make a teaser for a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we make a teaser for how to log in. Another would be perhaps like a short video, even if it's not a video, just a collection or a progression of photos where you can show what are the potential output, the reports that it will make. Okay, so um, you can still engage them and make them interested until the big reveal. But then again, if think that you are still like less than 70% of your product, so I guess do not over promise yet, right? But of course, if
Okay.
you're already 90% of the product, then I guess you can already start um, becoming more solid in your presentations. But I think I should go with, go only with a complete uh, demo when
Mm.
it's already really working, because it will not only reflect on the product's capability, it will also reflect on you.
Oh,
Jenny,
okay.
I was able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. That's really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you,
thank
ma'am.
you.
All right. Any more questions? We still have 5 more minutes with Miss
Yeah, I
Heidi.
really love the time management.
Kailangan, ma'am, because even though
Yeah,
it's virtual, we still
yeah,
have to
I
be
know.
prompt.
Yeah, I know.
So do we? Who's somebody going to ask a question? Did I hear someone unmuting herself or himself? Questions, please, for Miss Heidi. Don't hesitate at all, guys. It's the fundamentals of salesmanship, and it might sound technical, but you definitely need this to effectively sell your product and service. Okay, any more questions? Wala na ba?
I hope it means that they
Was
understood what I shared.
Yeah, I think so, mom. I think that that's sandali, may chat eh. Okay. So there's a question actually, ma'am. All right. So what makes a good salesman? What are the most essential characteristics that a good salesman should possess?
Okay. I think aside from the things that all the materials that we can read about is telling us what to do, and especially looking at the points of the fundamentals of salesmanship, because as proven time and again, salesmanship is a skill. Okay, so meaning we can learn about it and we can become it. Then again, if we look at the into the personality, okay, we ca- I myself I cannot really give you a very straight answer to that, because we have to weave salesmanship into our own personality, and our personality is not defined by one box, and we say this is the box of the personality for a very good salesman, because that will be negating who we are. Okay, some salesmen that I know are very relaxed, and they just make jokes, and that's how they do it because that is what's natural to them. Some salesmen also that I know are, they they are very OCD. They have a perfect list of what to do. They have a full calendar. They have all the materials, but it also works for them. So I guess to be a good salesman, for me, if you really ask me now, is to be comfortable in who we are. Because if we are comfortable on who we are, not on what we know, okay, and what we do, but who we are, then we can work it and we can maximize it, and we also end up being what's this confirming of who we are, and therefore I think we will feel more um, successful. We will feel more happy and not pressured to sell, because we are just functioning and using our good skills. Of course, if we find that there are some parts of our personality that is taking away from our skill, and I think that's the one that we should try to remove. But again, salesmanship can be learned. Salesmanship plus bringing out the best of our personality, I think that's what we only need to know. Because if we peg it too much, then we are trying too much and we don't become natural anymore. And we do not appear as somebody who is legitimately, real to our potential customers. I hope I'm just sharing what I'm thinking. Okay. Hello.
Okay, so I think the question has been answered, Mom Heidi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
that. So now that we've concluded Miss Heidi's session, part of the session. We'd like to thank her for giving some of her time to mentor and talk about the fundamentals of salesmanship to our current batch of incubatees. All right. So before we head on to the last part of our morning session, we'd like everyone to please turn on your cameras for the virtual group photo. Ma'am Heidi, maka-picture ka?
I don't have my system camera right now.
Okay, sige. Okay lang, basta at least
Okay.
hindi yung pangalan mo. Ako na
Okay.
i-blur on niya kayong Mendoza. Kayo lang ang
Okay.
Heidi. At least may may proof.
Okay.
I think you need this to know for your documentation then.
Oh, no, it's all
Okay,
right.
so
It's all
smile
right.
everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Smile everyone. 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay, so that's it again for Miss Heidi's part. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Ma'am
Miss Shore.
Heidi.
Thank you,
Oh,
Miss
thank
Shore.
you. So, keep
Okay. A
safe
pleasure.
and God bless sa inyong new business.
Yeah.
So we'll keep
Yeah.
posted on content. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So now to the last part of our virtual fire session, and definitely not the least, is a talk from a former CDO Bytes team member, our very own Constantino Brasiliano, sorry, Asage Jr. All right. Sage is now affiliated with MSU IIT's IDEA and he manages the said TBI, which is situated in Iligan City. He is a startup evangelist with a background in business development and entrepreneurship. He has multiple experience in the academe and community management, engagement, I mean, community engagement, and actively takes part in the Philippine startup ecosystem as a community builder with high focus in peri-urban areas in Mindanao. He was also the founder for a startup called NAP, which is an online delivery platform catered towards small-time cooks, carinderias, and habal-habal drivers aimed to build their brands as well as bring locally sourced food to tables. So he believes in creating value within products, and he is a constant practitioner of the design thinking method in creating innovation for people and organizations. With his experience and background as both a startup founder and a TBI manager, he'll be sharing how salesmanship is essential to startups. So, with that introduction, I'll now be giving the virtual floor to Siege.
Hi everyone. Hi Mashar. Hi CDO Bytes and to the startups here in this session. Thank you for having me. So yeah,
I see.
hi ma'am. So miss you all. So yeah, I'll be sharing my video, my screen in a bit, and I think the whole session, or for the most of the part of the duration of the session, they have already tackled yung mga important gists on selling, no, or the fundamentals of selling. And I think I'm here to discuss primarily on salesmanship in the startup sense. So yeah, hearing all the discussions and hearing all of the prior talks, no, it's a very good starting point for us because I hope that this session will be like more like a deep dive for us startup founders going forward on how can we integrate ourselves towards selling. No, for most of the part, again, thank you to CDO Bytes for having me. No, thank you for that also warm introduction. I'm very grateful to helping out the startups in CDO because CDO is also close to my heart. And yeah, I hope to share and impart these insights to everyone here in the startups, which is just the basics on how to sell. And it's a primer for startups. So now, most of you are mostly tech founders. So I have a clear voice now because my connection is quite unstable. So yeah, hope that you can ping me if the outbound connection. But yes, anyway, going back now, um, I assume that most of you are heavy on tech or have most of your experience is prior towards tech, and you might not have like a prior experience in selling or sales in general, or you might not have graduated with a specialty in sales, because even though, for example, you might be a business major, but it's not still not a proof that you major in sales or you're an expert in sales. No, so um, it's very essential for every startup to have that one co-founder that will focus on selling the product, making sure that the product goes across to the customer. And that startup founder usually devotes 99 or almost all of the time that they have towards looking for people, getting creating relationships, answering questions, and just getting the product out there. So I hope with the previous sessions then, I hope there are insights that I could add on, so to help you on what it looks like, no, in the startup space, and how you can easily boost, no, your capacity towards doing the proper sales techniques for your startups. So going towards the startup, I mean selling, like salesmen in general. Um, it's a very nato yung nag-question ganiya, no, na what is like the perfect salesman, no, what is uh, the best characteristics of becoming a salesman. And it really stems down, no, I think most of us, when we talk about becoming a salesperson, we have this definite idea of like the best salesman. So if you're familiar with Mad Men, but you usually um, this series, no, really focuses towards about salespeople. And that I usually the protagonist in this series, I usually put one of his pitches inside our pitching session workshops, um, both in CDO Bites and both in my own personal pitching session workshops. And um, we usually have this idea of salesman na they're impossibly charming, or they just have like the perfect lines that they could say at the right time. They're very well connected with several other people, very well dressed, brooding guy that you can't really read, and probably very incredible golfers because it's where they network. And yeah, it's a product of most misconceptions that we have in regards to sales, because it's not all salesmen that not all salesmen look like that, no. As what Ma'am Heidi also emphasized earlier, that salesmanship is something that you learn along the way, and it's something that you integrate within yourself, no. um Based on my experience prior to becoming TBI, part of the TBI, I also have been a startup founder. And selling your products, or selling your idea can be a little bit hard, no. And that's because you have to integrate it within yourself, no. It's not like a magic idea, like for example, I have to be like this, I have to be like that to make the sale, no. It's about building relationships. Um it's about building talking to the customer. It's about getting your ideas out there and making sure that they're able to buy the product. And of course, it's you. Probably you look like this guy right here, taking a phone calls in a broken chair, just sitting chilling in the corner, taking enough phone calls, and just listening and just talking to that customer that you might have in your startup. And of course, make sure that you in your startup do pick a founder to own this task. No, it's very important. Um, this founder will devote mostly his or her time to really talking to customers and making sure that they have that secure contact with them. And of course, sales curve sales is a cure all for business. No, whether unsa pa ang you have sales, no, it usually cures everything. That means you're generating revenue. So all problems, whether it be financial, marketing, operations, etc., everything can be cured towards sales. So if you get a sale, um, that's a good plus. And that one of the realities that you have to realize is that um, sometimes most of you can be tech founders. Most of you do not have prior knowledge with regards to sales, but founder passion sometimes always trumps sales experience, passion for your product, knowing your product very well, and having that product that really solves a set number of problems is a good indicator for a chance of a good sale. No. So yeah, as mentioned earlier, no, but though the sales selection process na gi-introduce ni Ma'am Heidi was a very what you call this, um, very spread out or very meticulous. I'm going to have this as in a general aspect na lang, so that you'll understand, you'll have it more simply. But I think much better to Ma'am Heidi, because it pinpoints like the important parts of really closing a deal. So just to briefly introduce, the almighty funnel, which is the sales funnel. So you have four parts to it. First is you have your prospecting, getting the right customers, knowing kinsa na sila, identifying whom of which will be the ones to buy your product. Then two is having that conversation with the user or the prospect buyer. And then three, your closing. And then four, your promise or delivering your product. Process, I think for business majors, you might have seen this process. This is happening
Page. All right. I think he was
Yes, ma'am.
disconnected. Nandiyan ka pa ba?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
naputol. Okay. Nawala mo kung
I, s-
slide.
s- I will share again, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Okay.
Okay. Sorry for that, guys. So I'll just turn off my camera instead, kasi I think my internet is very slow. No. So I hope we're still keeping up, no. So for parts of the almighty funnel, no, prospecting and conversations, of course, conversing to your customers, then closing, and then of course your revenue, and also delivering that thing, or your product or your service. So when you're prospecting, when you're prospecting, or you're thinking about your startup, or you're thinking about how to sell your products to your startup, I think with you building already your BMC, you already have that target market. Now, when you have the target market, now you have to identify what type of early adopt or what type of adopters are they, in terms of products and etc. Now, for us startups, it's very hard, because we're introducing something new. We're introducing something that is not been heard before, or probably something that is heard before. Na na siya. It's a running product. It's a very comfortable business model, but we are offering something innovative, something that is new to the customers. So when we look at this bell curve, created by Everett Rogers, I think if you're a business major, you'll find a lot of these graphs everywhere. No, we have like the innovators, the early adopters, the early majorities, and the late majorities, and the laggards. So you can see that Everett Rogers identified these types of adopters, going forward. And what's really identifiable about this is that this graph really shows that there's a bell curve, going with what type of how many, or how what is the quantity of each type of adopter there is. So for example, if for us startups, what really we want is that people who want to take the first move, people who are willing to take the risk and in trying your product, because our products are very something new or something uncertain, as based on how we define startups. We are creating something that is that has a higher level of uncertainty than other types of businesses. So usually what we really want to take into account is we have to find the innovators. We have to find the people who are willing to take the risk and really willing to get a new perspective on using um, that account or that type of product or service. And yeah, it shows that it's a numbers game. You have to find in sales, it's always a numbers game. It's always trying to get as much customers as you need. And um, most of the startup founders, when they look at this graph, no, considering that they have a target market, that means they have only like a few percentage or shares of the whole piece of the pie. Dayon, you integrate it with the idea that there are only 2.5% of innovators in the whole bell curve. Um, makes you realize, oh, damn, basing gamay ra kaayo jud ni siya. But you have to realize that it's a numbers game, but even if it's a small market, no, you have to make do with what the small market does, and yeah, churn your accounts from there to build your brand, and then going forward, you can then get as most adopters or as many adopters as you can. And in the first stages of your startup or in the first stages of selling your product, it's really about the numbers game. You have to find that 2.5%, or you have to find that those people who are willing to get you. That means that you have to go towards reach out to a lot of customers that you identify as your market. So these are top three methods that I could share to you. These are some foolproof ways, no, for you to get your way into these innovators and how you could reach them. No, firstly, one is of course simply your network. You probably have your own network at first, your moms, your dads, your titos, your titas, and probably you have your friends, no, that could be your first people to use your product because they are comfortable with them using it. So in that sense, no, they could use their product. That could be by all means use your network, and then sometimes your network won't be enough. Your network will still be limited, no, and sometimes your network is not your target market. So you have to then kick it up to the next level, which is conferences. No, when we think about conferences, we firstly that we identify conferences, we think about like E3 conference, or we think about um, Apple conference, or Samsung conference reveal of something big where you're gathered with like a thousand of people. For example, same also with the TBI conference where you're gathered with like thousands of people, and then there's this some cool reveal that will be happening. But in reality, it's not all conferences are like this, and usually conferences are very holistic or very intimate. It's a perfect time for companies or people or colleagues of that kind of market to gather around together and have the chance to learn from other people with other backgrounds. And usually these conferences are like a gathering of minds or gathering of individuals in one certain place, and making sure that you have like contacts to these conferences can really help you. So now you're a startup, you might be wondering, okay, so um uh can I just join all conferences? No, of course. You have to identify first what type of target market are you looking at, and then what type of conferences would they be. If you're a business that deals with schools, or if you're a business that deals with um yeah, okay, let's just say if you're a business that deals with schools, so you have to go to conferences where teachers or um decision makers, as Mom Heidi said, no, like for example, principals or um, um, school owners can actually come there and gather together so that they could you could present a small pitch about your product and how it could um, purposefully impact their current operations. Yeah, within the whole year, what you could do is you could plan several conferences. So you could identify which conferences are these and just take three. At maximum three, you could take three conferences, identify these conferences you might need to pay, no, or some conferences might be free. So you have to take note of these types of conferences and how huge are they. And how you could capitalize in these conferences is that you could go to organizers and also ask, you know, if who are the people who've already registered for just some ideas for just some ideas in mind. Though you have to also take note into account yung Data Privacy Act, no. Though if you might ask, I think it would be best if it would be verbal or if you could have an email and then um, give you could ask like a general idea or general gist of who might be coming and how big of the conference are. Um, yeah, those are the things that you can take into account. No? And one other thing is that you could do a cold email. No, maybe beforehand if the organizers are generous enough to give out like the emails for networking. Um, Usually you could do like a cold email. So for example, this one is cold email by Tyler, CEO from Clever. So this what they do is they have a technology company that helps schools out. So um, yeah, they could you could talk to them. Like for example, hi John, my name is CJ. I am an officer here at IDEA, and I heard that you were joining this conference, and I was really excited to learning more from you, or excited to talk to you about something. We're actually doing these kinds of things, and I think that you're the perfect customer for our product. So I was wondering how we could talk and maybe we could solve some of your problems. And I'd love to get your feedback. So some cold emails do work, but in the current scheme right now, most especially in the Philippines, it would be good if you have like an introduction, um, and if you have like a common meeting ground, like for example that conference that I've mentioned earlier. No, you could use that as the common meeting ground that you will have so that you could start off a conversation with them. Okay, so yeah, now you've done prospecting, now you've done your customer really wants to get you or the customer wants to buy from you. Now they're on your phone. No, once you're on the phone, no, what you naturally do is when you try to sell the product, it's you just speaking all the time. No, you'll be blabbering out a lot of things like, yeah, oh, this is our product, and this is what we do, etc., etc. And yeah, it's understandable because you've spent a tremendous amount of time. You've spent a whole lot of time in actually trying to um, ideate on the product or try to devise on the startup that you've already thought of, and you're excited. Yeah, you're very excited to share this wonderful idea that you have for them. But actually, no, how you want to win deals is actually you listening to them more often. No, so what great salesmen all over the world usually have this technique where they listen, no, to their customers more, and then they ask a lot of questions like, what's your problem? I mean, what's the case at your school? How are you doing? How are things doing? So it then boils down towards empathy, no, understanding if it's that your product might be understanding that your product might be a part of the solution to their problem, but it's not your main usually you that could solve all of their problems. Now, you have to make sure that you're actually understanding what their problem is, no, and then making sure if they're the right customer for your product. So, for example, if there's a mismatch in your problem, you could still offer your product, but in a manner that will probably help them out, but just to make sure that it's something that is useful to their product. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with this sales specialist, or you target high level company. What you would do is online. So there's this thing called Uber conference where they measure how much time. If you're familiar with Uber conference, there's this thing that they measure them talking. No, and it really shows no the graphs that if you what you naturally do no that um, you'll have most of the time talking. No, it usually ends not closing a deal. No, so um, usually how to win deals. The gist of this is that when you want to win deals, you have to listen to them. You have to understand what their problem is, and then pinpoint there how your product or how your solution can really cater to their needs. And of course, this one, after while you're on call, no, um, you'll have to have like religious follow-ups, all the time. So um, this one is a sample. No, this one is a sample of a close. No, so that means they close a sale. No, they have the ganun ka siya giagi response, then sent another email and then they have no response, and then they send an email, they have a response, and then they've scheduled a call, have a call, sent an email, no response, and then um it just shows no within this process that when you try to close a sale, no, you have to have religious follow-ups. At the first time, you might not have like responses to the emails or responses to etc etc, but you have to be resilient enough, you have to be perseverant enough to ask if everything is all right, no, but make sure that the email response, no, nag-respond siya and then they say no, don't be if it's a no, then yeah, it's done. But if after several emails, no responses, and then after the next email they give out like a good response, or they have like an interest about it, try pushing forward, and then schedule a next call, do a pricing call, and then have some adjustments and etc etc, no, and then agree to close up, no. So sales is a very sales is a very tedious task. It's a step-by-step task, and you have to be resilient about it, or you have to be perseverant about it, no. Religious follow-ups can go a long way towards securing that partner or the customer that you really want to have in mind. And yeah, now you have already created like the good conversations. Now you have already done these conversations and etc. uh, Now you have to agree to close. You have to close a deal. You have to make sure that the buyer or the client buys a product from you. So these are just some traps that you have to keep in mind when you're trying to close. Step is to send them an agreement. So it's your prerogative as the startup, no, to send the agreement. You don't ask the client for them to send the agreement to you. You have to make the agreement yourself. You have to make the document for yourself. And then after which they'll have what these things called as red lines. So usually the companies, they have it checked out by a lawyer and then X out some red lines. They have to identify what things they want to have or what lines they want to have, etc., etc. And for these things, I think of course your incubator will help you out on drafting like the good or help you out in helping you draft a good agreement. So usually you'll have a MOA, or you have like it's a signed document, legal document for them to understand that you will be partnering with each other. And yeah, of course um, your incubator will help you out. And of course, this one, I hope, like for example, for startups, you always take this into account, that don't quibble over super minor points, because I will tell you this, no, your first customers will be like a blessing to you. They're like manna from heaven. Know that they will come down and then, hey, I'll give you this. I'll try out your product. So you have to understand that the early innovators of your product, or the first few customers of your products, are really are really a blessing. And if you quibble over yung super minor points that you don't have to be to pay this. So most of the companies, most of the organizations that you will encounter, they'll have like very weird no nga mga exceptions, or they'll have to have like weird some cross outs, like for example except to the extent required by applicable third-party licenses. Na sila yung mga other terms that might not be applicable to you, etc. Making sure that your product is there, making sure that they're using your product for you, and that they're using that product. Don't quibble over minor points. Next one, on to the next one. And another closing trap is eto. Usually, when we try to sell the product, usually have this more feature kind of thing. Like for example, you introduce a product, and then some guy or some person that, I like your product, but the problem is I think I'd like to have it some more features for me to really use it. So usually these are just polite people that you understand them. Sale for that guy will take you a long time, because you have to add more features until then. No, your dev team will only have a hard time building on the product if you try to integrate as more features. No, you have to also take note, probably these things, like for example, these feedbacks are important. But when you're trying to sell your product, you have what you have, who are going to buy my product, or who is going to use my product right now with this kinds of set of features, right? So building it will not get you the sale. No, I will tell you that. No, it's just for one person. So just take in mind, like for example, if there's a collection of people who's saying, I want this feature, I want this feature, I want this feature, then you can add that feature going forward, or you can add that as like a sub project. But if it's just one person saying that, I want this feature, no, you might want to take a pass on that, because that's usually just the company or just the client saying that it's a polite pass, or I'm not going to use your product as of now. And also it's either like you could do like a signed conditional agreement, or wait to hear demand from more customers. Like for example, as what I've said earlier, no, if a lot of customers or a lot of the demand also indicates that this feature is really important, then go for it. Build it. And lastly, free trials. I think this was a good sales strategy if it was in the 1990s or it was in the 1970s. No, free trials. We have freemium models, but I will at first what you really need to do is that you need to understand the hello, murag nawala na tugko. Hello? Hello?
Hi, Siege.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry kayo, ma'am. Murag
Okay ra,
unstable
okay ra,
ang
okay ra.
connection.
Padayon lang. Mhm.
Sige. So I think we're almost done na guys, no? So gamay na lang. Hopefully I'm still on time. And yeah, closing traps, free trials, it's a good way. But for you who's looking for commitment, validation, and revenue, you should get paying customers. Like for example, for Spotify, though they say 1 month, what they usually ask for you is that you put your credit card sign or credit card details to your Spotify account or to you're probably going to risk some of your personal. So if you're an enterprise model type of company, offer an annual contract. So offer staggered payments, no, step by step payments. Like after this month, if you're still good, um, you could stop by this month, and then yeah, you pay the amount of annual fees that you or pay the fees that you will have, no, while using the product. And then last slide, no. This one was supposed by one of the VCs of Silicon Valley, which is Christoph Chance. Now, this is a very effective way identifying how you could build. Using this graph right here, no, it's a very visual graph. No, he said there are 5 ways to build $100 million business. So we have 5 ways. No, um, one on the x-axis, or yeah, x-axis identifies the number of customers, no, that you have to get, and then on the y-axis is the number of dollars they're willing to pay for acquiring the service or service or product that you're offering. So for example, if you have a client that just pays $10 per service, then you might have to get as many as you can. No, um, with that saying, no, for most of the part, no, that I've been talking for the whole session, I've been talking mostly about closing a deals because um, that was really focused towards enterprise sales, which is a very more tedious task. But for example, if you're a startup that offers, for example, like Facebook, Spotify, or your business that relies on the number of users because you have a very low price point, then you have to focus on your marketing. So if you're a flea mice or a rabbit level kind of business, focus on marketing, focus on getting as many of your target market customers as you can, getting your name out there, and then grabbing what you can. And then probably when you get 10,000 customers that pays you 100,000 so 10 million customers, sorry, um 10 million customers that you have that pays you $10, then you'll have your way to earning $100 million in business. So but if you're more of a deer and you to really needs to pay like a huge sum, no, you might need to have more focus, no. You might, what your sales tactics would be, would be is getting towards a customer, getting in touch with them. Um, so it would be either inside sales, no, something from your network, or field sales, gathering that customers that you really need in mind to get a deal that's 100,000, 100,000 per year ba, or whatever, no. So that just goes to the gravity of work that you have to do, no, in terms of sales. And that's also that one way for you to identify what type of sales are you really looking for. And it's very important that in every business you have to identify, or you have to quantify what is a sale for you, no. So if a sale is a subscription, that could be it, no. If a sale is having a MOA, no, that could be it, no. So you have to identify in your business what is constituted as a sale. So, and lastly, in sales, it's more about giving that value, more about making sure that your product really is, you're providing the solution for the product, and just listening to the customer. Because sales, in sales, it's not really, you can be, you can have different personalities, but the main gist of it is that you have a great relationship with your client and you as the service provider. So with that, I think that wraps up most of my discussion for this session, and I hope that you have learned a lot from this session. So yeah, thank you, Studio Bites. Thank you, Ma'am Shore, Ma'am Rhea, and thank you everyone for having me. Ma'am Shore, I think you're muted, Ma'am.
Sorry, nakamute pala ako. Okay, so we still have, thank you again, Siege, for that. So we have 12 minutes for the Q&A portion. So if you have any questions, please ask Siege, especially since this is a session on pwede siya maging startup founder to startup founder, no? So you can
Yeah.
ask him about his experience in salesmanship when he did the startup app and whatnot. Okay, so don't hesitate to unmute your mic or leave your question on the chat box so we can address it to him. All right, so Q&A is open for questions. Do we have any questions? Startups?
Wala naman po, ma'am.
Okay, so none. Others, you don't want to ask CJ kung I think the presentation was great. No, I think everybody understood it, but if you don't have any questions, yes, feel free to shoot him any questions that you have. Don't hesitate, guys. Okay, may kay CJ. Okay. I think this a question from okay. Everything is pretty clear po from Iatid. So Rochelle, do you have a question? PJ, meet Rochelle, the new CDO Bytes team member.
Hi, Sid! Glad to finally meet you again, kahit virtually.
So na kay ano, ay
Yes,
address ko
ma'am.
Thea. Okay, okay.
Okay.
Fire away.
So ano na lang, Sid, I think maulang or nakasabot yun ang mga participants, no? But can you share na lang to us some common mistakes of startups in salesmanship para naman our incubatees can avoid it, and then If possible, can you give us true to life examples in this regard? Siege? Wala si Siege. Ay, sabi di ay. Sige, we'll wait for him na magbalik na lang muna.
Sorry,
Siege?
murag nawala akong internet for a while. Yes.
Okay. Now you're
Hello.
back. Hi, Siege! As I was saying, nice to finally meet you.
Yeah.
Virtually again. Okay, Siege,
Mm,
okay. Siege, I was just asking kung can you share to us
sige.
yung ano
May
kumbaga ba?
question ba?
Oh, yes. Kung ano kumbaga yung common mistakes ng startups in terms of salesmanship and then true to life example para dyan. Para naman ma-avoid ng ating incubatees present.
Right. Um, yeah, I think one of the common jud kaayo no nga things that we can take in mind close a sale is as what I mentioned earlier. Like for example, kanang we na what we're trying we want it to be perfect ganun ganon, and then gusto ta nga the deal would be mostly on our side. No, I think that's that's common. No, that's a very common thing to feel. Kaya like for example, if negosyante ka, dili jud ka gana malugi. And but the things that you have to realize is that it's a give and take situation, and you have to understand that you're providing something very uncertain. No, you're providing something very new. So you have to also realize na um, they're taking a risk on you. No, they're taking a risk on something that's fairly new, or something that's this is something different. So you have to understand them. So by the next year, by after the contract extends, no, you have to build that relationships with them, so that right after you finish that first contract, you have a better contract with them going forward. And next thing that you have to keep in mind, no, constant communication. I've also experienced this in a lot of problems that I have with my previous startup. If you don't communicate with your partners, this is gonna siya. Because I think most especially even sa TBIs when we're trying to collaborate with a partner, one of the most key examples when you're trying to close a partnership, or when you're trying to make the partnership work together, no, I think expert kasi Ma'am Sharani is to close a deal. No, try to have that constant contact, making sure are you okay with this? Are you okay with that? Making sure that the agreement is something right after closing or right after the signatures and etc. You have to be there. You have to be somewhat kind of their friend, no? Somewhat there to give your advice and etc. Because they really need your help. Like, for example, working with carinderia owners or basic home cooks, no? Um, there's a lot of anxiety with them working your product, because it's understandable naman, no? They're working with something uncertain, and they want to receive yung traction that they really need with the amount of money that they're pouring in for you. And I think it's a give and take. It's a give and take situation. Yeah, I think that's most of the things that they have to keep in mind. And then lastly pala, I think it's a very important aspect kato ganing last slide that I showed, the like the vines and the fleas and the elephants and the deers. You have to keep in mind unsa jud yung sales. So for example, if ga subscription ka, alangan na mag-adto ka og field, magtagsa-tagsa kag pangutanag tao, so that same time for them to subscribe to your application or your service. You have to keep in mind that be strategic about it. Sales is all about strategy. So the sales funnel, kato siya, it's a step-by-step process when you go towards kana ganing in a meeting room or trying to pitch it to your product. But usually, when you look at it on the perspective of kana ganing the fleas and the mices, no, kanang dagan kag users nga i-try o i-generate, it's somewhat seamless siya kay flowing ramang gud siya dayon. Like for example, they see an ad and then they go to your landing page, and then pagkita niya sa landing page, oh, this is something that I like, so then probably they would go and purchase. No, so it could translate towards your apps. So get good marketing content. Yeah, build a good marketing content that shows like the sales funnel. So from prospecting, how do you prospect online, from creating that conversation with them, no, will they be willing to buy the product, and then closing the deal through providing like yung service or several payment methods. So yeah, I guess that's it.
Thank you, Sid.
All right. So thank you, Rachel, for that question. That was actually what the startups also needed to hear. So, any more questions for CJ
Yeah,
before we
thank
conclude
you.
our morning session? None? Okay, so going once, since we only have 4 minutes before we head on to lunch break. So, I guess that's it. Is Rhea around for the closing remarks? Okay. So I'm not. Rhea has been disconnected earlier. Ay, okay. Yeah. So wala pa siya kabalik. But then again, uh, well, I'll just make the closing remarks very short. Okay. Thank you again to our speakers, Sir Jason, Ma'am Heidi, and of course CJ. Okay. Thank you for giving some time of your Saturday for talking about salesmanship. It's very important sa atong startups because, like I said earlier, it's not being a startup, it's not just pursuing innovation. You also have to be an entrepreneur. Okay, so it's a mix of two worlds. So you have to know how to effectively sell your product, your idea, your service in a digital era, in a whole new world right now, especially while we're thriving and coping up with the challenges of the pandemic. So thank you again. So before we head on, conclude this session, I'd like everyone to turn on their cameras for a last virtual group photo with CJ. And reminders, by the way, guys, please do not forget, ako rin share screen unya inyong schedule again so you can be reminded. All right. So 1, 2, 3, smile. All right. Thank you again, guys. CJ, thank you so much for the time. Ingat, keep safe. All right.
Glad to
So,
be
guys,
here, ma'am. Miss you all.
Thank you,
yes.
Sid.
Ingat po po, ma'am.
Sir Sid.
Pa-bisita dire if pwede na. Okay. Okay, so guys, as you can see on the screen, reminder of your schedules. We will be lurking, okay,
Abo
during
ka.
the one-on-one coaching sessions para to check on your progress. But we won't be interfering with it, all right? We'll be doing it just for the
Sige,
documentation.
ma'am.
We'll be back. We'll be using the same
Bye.
Zoom link
Bye,
and make sure to
everyone.
prepare your pitch decks if Sir Jason needs those. Okay. So see you in an hour I mean, ihatid. Okay, so just please log in 10 minutes or 5 minutes before your schedule to prepare for your session. All right, happy lunch, everyone. Thank you, and see you. Hear you later. All right, bye bye.